So he came in and listened to it, and I kind of sung him what we had in mind. And he did the charts, and we cut it the next day. That's the first time we met. Then we met at the band, we sort of reacquainted at the Bambies. We played 3 tunes together, and we just fell in love with working with him. You know, we fell in love with him as people and as the section and stuff. And there are a lot of great horn sections around, but Tower have a certain sound that's Greg arranges for them just right. Doc, you know, is the fattest baritone player in the world. They just have a sound, you know, and we started working with him, I guess, on stage in about '83 or so, and since that time we must have done, you know, 300 shows with him, and it's still exciting. We don't use them all the time, but we use them most of the time.
Don't get any on you. Stay back. Yeah, stay back. Don't get any on you. For the people. All right. I'll get it on tonight. And the flowers in their glow have just refused to bloom, 'cause we all want you back, you see, oh, naturally. Too much, you guys, anybody? All the ever since you said goodbye to me, and the flowers in it have just refused to bloom, 'cause we all want you back, you see. And now was the moon, we left without a tune, and a shadow lost of harmony. So don't waste any time, rock and change your mind, everything will work out naturally. You know, life is a struggle, and only the strong will survive. So it's up to me and you to do what we gotta do to keep our love alive. And all the peace have been gone, we know there's something wrong, 'cause see, I feel like running right out. And the stars up in the sky, all they do is cry, and that's why the day must fall. Without the ending on the sun, who knows that you're the one, and we both miss your company. So don't waste any time, come back and change your mind, everything will work out naturally. Now you know life is a struggle, and only the strong will survive. So it's up to me and you to do what we gotta do to keep our love alive.
All love, all love, all love, love.
I hear a great story about Mario in Italy. The crowd went a bit crazy.
Yeah, it was a trip. He's a real cult hero over there. I guess it's just Italian fealty or whatever, but they would chant his name, the entire crowd, you know, like 11,000 people, over and over. It was wild.
First night in Milano, the audience starts chanting, Remember that?
That's what we were talking about.
Oh yeah, and we couldn't figure out what they were saying. We thought because some countries like in Germany have this and we thought it was like an appreciation chant. It turned out there was Mario, Mario, Mario with this real strong accent, you know. And meanwhile, when we figured out what it was, I just started tippy-toeing off the stage. Just get me out of here. Yeah.
I think he's more popular than Huey is, though, to tell you the truth.
The deal is that Italian Americans that do well and come back to Italy, they really take into their hearts, and that's it was nothing that out of line as far as they're concerned. It just seemed a little out of line as far as we were concerned.
I look forward to the food. You know, we're not like the other bands that search out the drugs and stuff. I think it's food and dirty jokes and the culture.
Basically, all they have to do is dig anywhere in Rome, and they're going to find something, you know. But they go to they find these ruins, and they just start excavating them, and then they just leave them there. They put a fence around them. They make it a park, you know. It's fascinating. You know, it's great. You almost wish that we had some history in the United States so we could do stuff like that too.
We have nothing. We have nothing.
Having known each other for the time we have, that has a lot to do with not feeling like a pop star, because we keep each other in check.
Yeah.
It's a great little check and balance thing we have going. Somebody's attitude gets out of line, and 5 guys jump on his butt, and that's it. You know, everything's settled down.
What do you pack?
Well, this may sound kind of strange, but I usually, you know, clean socks are very important for me. Underwear, of course. You know, like what your mother says, you know, in case a truck runs you over, you know, you got to be wearing clean underwear.
I'll wake up in the morning and, well, in my version of the morning, and I turn on Led Zeppelin just to shake myself up a little bit, and then I get complaints at sound check from these, God, Mario, do you always have to listen to that stuff, you know? So
He has an ever-escalating room system that's up to 60 watts a side or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It can make it through almost any substance.
Highlight for you in Europe?
Honestly, has nothing to do with music. Is that okay?
No, that's
okay.
great.
One of the best. I'm a billiard and pool and snooker fan, and the best billiard player in the world, Raymond Ceulemans, lives in a little town outside of Brussels. And we were there 2 nights, and in between the two, I rented a car and shot off to the little town Mechelen and went into Ceulemans' little restaurant, billiard parlor, and got to sit and have a Coke and a sandwich and shoot billiards in the greatest billiard player in the world's own little restaurant, and look at his trophies and took pictures. I mean, I was a fan for one day, you know, it was wonderful.
On an average day, depending on the tour, but on this one, we usually start at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And we start by loading in. We've got 11 flight cases, and we have a room available, and tables, electricity and water, and everything else we carry. So we go into the room and we set up and design a kitchen. And then we cook breakfast for the 30 to 40 odd crew that come in the morning. And while we're cooking breakfast, somebody goes shopping, and they buy all the fresh food and vegetables, everything we need for the day. And then we start preparing lunch, which is like a large buffet, usually with hot food and everything else as well. And while we're doing the lunch, somebody else starts cooking their dinner. On this, we've been doing between 4 and 6 choices a night. So we do foreign food as well as food for the English people on the tour who don't eat the foreign food. So we do meat and 2 vegetables and things for those. So we do like at least 2 completely different things.
How much stuff do you buy and what kind of quantities?
Well, an average supermarket trolley in, say, Safeways in England, we end up usually with about between 5 and 10 trolleys in the supermarket. And they usually give us people to pack and like sort it all out for us and things.
Do you have, do the crew and band have specific likes and dislikes, or do you find that there are certain dishes that are more popular than others?
It's a case of deciding the night before, trying to even it out so that you've only got 5 or 6 basic meats you can do, and you have to do usually 2 meats a night. So we just decide ourselves what we're going to do. But when you've been with a band for like 1 or 2 weeks, you start to know what they like. Like these guys love seafood, and they love curry, and they love Italian, and they love like Chinese, which we did last night. But you do have trouble because you get used to English things. And like in English supermarkets, you can get basically every nationality. So when you get to Europe, you plan your menu before you go shopping. You get to the shop and they haven't got anything you want. Like they don't sell chickens in Scandinavia and just silly things like that. They sell hen, and hen's like twice as tough as chicken and takes twice as long to cook. And then you get to Scandinavia and the band have heard about reindeer steaks, so what do they want to try? Reindeer steaks.
The opening act thing is real fun. You don't appreciate it at the time because you only play like 45 minutes maximum, 35 to 45 minutes. You don't have to worry about lights. You don't have to worry about the sound. You get generally to use a better PA than you've ever been using in your own gigs, so it sounds great to you. The crews generally treat you great. There's a great crew meal right before you show. You sort of show up at 6. You don't need to do a sound check because the sound's so good. You have a wonderful crew meal. You go out and play like 35, 40 minutes and you're done. The drag is you don't really get to warm up. It's not a musical thing, you know, you don't get your musical chops done. But in terms of work, it's barely work. You can leave early and it's just, you know, you're there for 2.5 hours, period. So it's a lot of fun. It was funny, I was just telling Melissa, I said, you know, I know you guys will think that, you know, 35 or 45 minutes isn't what you're used to, but enjoy it because a couple years from now, when you're responsible for everything, there's a lot more pressure and you have to work a lot harder, and it's, you know, I mean, not that it's anything nervous per se, but you do get excited, and I think that's good. You know, I mean, the trouble is after long periods of touring, you cease to get excited, and that's when you're in trouble, you know. Audiences are a living